Hey, Matt.
Hey, Dyl.
Remind me, what are we covering today? Because I've just been watching so much for the channel. It's just all starting to like blur together in my head,
Oh, yeah, it's Pride Month, so we're covering Ben and Arthur.
Wait, what? Pride Month?
Hey, Chris, happy Pride.
Happy Pride, Matt.
Wait, guys, what are you talking about? It's not June, is it?
Well spotted, Dyl. You don't remember?
Well, he is straight, so maybe he didn't get the memo.
Yeah, you're right. He's not subscribed to LGBTQIA+. We moved Pride Month to August, Dyl.
No, I remember us. I remember us talking about it, but it's not even August either, is it?
Right. Well, August stopped happening, so we decided that September was the new Pride Month, at least for this year.
I guess that's why you haven't gayed up the Dyl Pickle Movie Network logo.
Yeah. How are you supposed to prove that you're an ally if you don't stick a rainbow sticker on the channel without offering any meaningful effort for change?
Guys, I mean, come on, guys, you know me. Oh God, Framewreck.
What a story, Mark.
Hello, everyone, and happy Pride, I guess.
Yes.
Cold open. It is Pride Month, so we will be talking about a gay film today for Framewreck. All jokes aside, the logo is going to be gayed up for this week on the Dyl Pickle Movie Network for our honorary Pride Week in September, and we have our rainbow logo coming out this week for you guys. So welcome to Framewreck. Hey, Matt. Hey, Chris.
Hey. We're not just covering a gay film, Dyl. We're covering, I think, the gay film. We're gonna have a lot to talk about. This movie is a doozy. We're covering Ben and Arthur. If anybody doesn't know, if you haven't watched it, pause this, go watch Ben and Arthur. It's on YouTube, and then come back. You will not be sorry.
Yeah, you will not regret it. It's one of those films where, like, some of the films we cover on this channel, it's like, oh God, it was a slog, or it's bad for the wrong reasons. But this is absolutely worth your time.
Oh,
Absolutely,
yeah, for sure.
Chris is actually the one who turned us on to this movie. We were actually going to possibly do it last year for Pride Month, and then we ended up doing whatever we did. I don't remember what we did. And then
Elm Street.
Did we do Nightmare? Okay, so we did Nightmare on Elm Street, which was
A much better movie.
Which was in one of my favorite episodes of the show we've ever done. I love that episode. But so then we decided to move it to this year. Chris, how did you find this movie? Like, how did you discover it?
Honestly, it's one of those movies. Back in the day, I used to watch a ton of like YouTuber movie reviews and things like that, where they would discuss typically just random movies, usually bad movies. And this movie started to circle around because everyone would call it basically the gay version of The Room, which I can definitely agree with that. And I've seen so many people talk about it, but I never really sat down and watched it until like a couple of years back, and just watched it the one time before this podcast. For this podcast, I watched it a second time. So you guys, you're very fortunate. And yeah, it's just, like I said, it just stuck with me when I first started to see people talk about it. Because I thought, how could it be that bad? How could it be similar to The Room?
Right.
Yeah. So So full disclosure for our audience, we were going to do this in June, as we announced in May that we were going to do this for Pride in June. But things got crossed and we didn't ever end up doing it, which is why we moved Pride Month.
We just officially nationwide moved it for everyone else.
We moved it for everyone. So we moved Pride Month, and then August didn't happen, and so we moved it again. But anyway, so I watched this back in June, and so this was my second time watching it also, and it ages like a fine wine. This while I did not have the same initial the same reaction I did the first time because I didn't know it was coming. I was able to pick up on just so much this time. We're going to have a lot to talk about. We don't have a whole lot of time, so we're probably going to get into it. I will say this. I will say that we can call it the gay version of The Room all we want, but we might have to start calling The Room the straight version of Ben and Arthur.
That's a good point.
All right, so as always, we're going to start with who made it. And for this one, it's super easy. It was written, directed, produced, executive produced, shot, edited, scored, and starring Sam Marovich.
Surprised you did that all in one breath.
Yeah. Dude did everything. And
it was a passion project.
Clearly, it was a passion project, and yeah, he definitely did everything. And I assume, here's the thing: usually, I'll tell you like behind the scenes stuff. There's not a lot of information about this. I do have a little bit, but we'll go over that a little bit later.
It almost doesn't feel like a real movie in a way, because there's like, it's never been like put out on DVD. It's not really on streaming. You can't really get it. You can't buy it anywhere. You cannot pay money to see this movie. So there's almost like that kind of nature to it too, where like the behind the scenes mystery. I like the fact that it's still remaining and will always be a mystery, because it's almost like this kind of was made just out of the blue. It's like the Jesus of movies, if you will, to tie it to its Christianity themes, you know?
Yeah. Oof. It's kind of like it's kind of like the modern version of passing tapes. Back in the day, you had a tape, a blank VHS tape that someone had recorded a movie on, and you're like, this is really hard to find. Here's this tape. And then you would pass it to someone else who would watch it, and then ideally pass it to someone else to watch it. It kind of feels like the modern day version of that. It's not really available anywhere, but if you can find this movie, what a treat. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about what makes this movie great. And I think the answer is Sam Marovich, who did everything on this film. Dyl, what do you got? Tell me something that makes this film great.
I mean, it's hard to know where to start with this. I mean, do we talk about the filmmaking? Do we talk about the contents of the story, or the actual messaging? Because I think one of those three things is actually not bad in its intention, I would say, and that is the messaging. I think what makes it genuinely great is the fact that it is kind of spreading this message of, you know, pro activism for LGBT rights, which I think is actually one of the surprising things to watch about it. It's not problematic in that sense. It's got problematic characters, but they serve an overall better theme. Like, I think its heart is in the right place. But I mean, what makes it great from a Framewreck perspective is the fact that it is like The Room. It is every time you switch scenes or shots, there's a different sound quality. Sometimes it's louder, sometimes it got more background noise. It's just not consistent in that way. It's not consistent visually. The dialogue is crap, but it's entertaining crap. Like it's all the things that make Framewrecks. And it's really hard to know where to start. I mean, The Room comparison is so good because it does kind of have that similar feel of, do we need to be saying this? Do we need to be doing this? Is this necessary? Does it matter? You know, all the unnecessary things like, oh, hi, it's me, your brother. Let me tell you what relationship we are to one another. Let me tell you what I'm doing with my day. And then I'll get to what I need from you. And then I'll hang up. And then immediately a second later, there'll be another phone call where you say the same exact thing again. Like that kind of idea of The Room, like the setting up the tapes in the room, like the excess is what I think makes this so amazing. I mean, there's so many things. It's hard to know where to start, but that's like my general thesis statement of why I think this is an immaculate picture.
Yeah, I agree. Let's if I can narrow down, one thing that stuck out to me both times is the editing, and not necessarily you know, where it could have been trimmed or anything like that. Just that, and maybe it's not the editing, maybe it's the directing. It's really everything. Sam Marovich. Anyway, his you would start scenes still on the person not doing anything, and then they would start as though they were already doing the thing.
Yes.
Like you could trim that out. Like someone's just standing there, and then it's almost like Sam called action, and then the person starts walking like they've been walking the whole time, but Sam didn't cut off the part where they were just standing there. or the guy, his Ben was like washing dishes, and at one point it cuts back to him, and he's just kind of standing there looking off his face.
Yeah.
And then suddenly it's like Sam calls action, and he grabs the thing and starts spraying the thing. Yes. So then Sam walks in, he's like, or Arthur walks in, he's like, "Hey, what's up?" And it's like, yeah, it's I
have thoughts about that scene specifically. Also,
I would love to hear that your thoughts on that scene.
That dishwashing scene, first of all, it's insane because they're talking and Arthur is just like, I don't want to work in this restaurant anymore. And then he talks to Ben about his hopes and dreams about what he wants to do. Then like Ben tells him that he has his nursing degree, so he can go into nursing, but he also wants to be a musician. They've been together for 3 years, we're to believe. They're a couple. They never talked about their hopes and dreams in the past. Like it seemed like they didn't know each other. Like it's for us, this information, obviously.
Yeah.
But there wasn't a way to get that in, like in a better way.
Speaking of them being together for so long, because there's plenty of times where that comes up where you're being told they've been in a 3-year relationship, but then everything else that happens makes it seem like maybe they just met. Because
yes,
because you got stuff like that. You got stuff like how the wife, Ben's wife, is like, you don't want to get like she's like, I want a divorce, and she's like, what? Why? And he's like, I'm gay. She's like, no, you aren't. And I'm thinking, hasn't he been living with a guy for 3 years?
For 3 years.
Right. And she's like, we've been married 5 years. I was like, he's been living with this guy longer than you guys were together. Like,
well, that's okay, Matt, because she can just become gay and then they'll be able to get married again.
Love that.
Right.
So good.
that fight. I mean, I know we're going to talk about spoilers later, but I just want to touch on that fight specifically because I think that's kind of where the editing is at its finest with the dialogue. Like it all kind of encapsulates in one big moment. That fight sequence is so good because it just accelerates so fast. She comes into the room and immediately pulls out the gun, and immediately they're slapping each other on the floor. It just happens so fast. Some moments happen so quick like that, and then some moments have so much time where it's like, all right, move it, and that's what's so funny is the inconsistency in that moment especially. But yeah, like the inconsistencies with relationships is very funny.
Yeah.
It's the exact idea I was saying earlier, where when you're on the phone, you got to say what your relationship is, who you are, what time of day, all this exposition just for the sake of the audience. But it's like, but the characters would have known this already. Yeah, it's exactly that. It's so funny.
Yeah. Speaking of phones, I love it every time Victor called Arthur and got his answering machine, and he was like, Arthur.
Yeah.
Like he was.
He answered it as if he picked it up the phone.
Yeah. So I need you to call me back ASAP.
Arthur? Yeah. Hello? Arthur, you there? Yeah, this is Victor again. Geez, I need to talk to you, so will you please call me back ASAP?
No, there's no one else on the line. Like, it would be different if it was, like, intended to be a phone call, and then they just didn't edit the other part, and then they were like, we got to cut corners, we got to cut this shot. But then they didn't cut it down, like Matt was saying. They leave the unedited part of it. Or it was supposed to be voicemail, and the guy just doesn't know how to leave voicemail because I don't know. Or maybe it was one of those voicemails where they start talking and they're like, I got you, leave a message. Because I used to.
I can see Arthur doing that actually.
Except we heard the answer machine once, and it was, "Hi, this has Ben and Arthur. We're extremely in love. Don't leave a message," or something like that.
Right.
Like
again, mystery that they've been together for 3 years. They have an answering machine that says we are in love. So,
and like, again, kind of like what you pointed out earlier, Dyl, like the heart of the movie, like the message that it wants to present, their heart's in the right place.
Yeah.
Their execution, just not the best. Like going from a technical standpoint, like going back to that, the set design in this movie, horrendous. Everyone's home looked so cluttered. Every room at Victor, like the homophobic brother's property, just looked so cluttered. He had like 3 different cats on set that just would be around, like that I just couldn't not pay attention to. Like it just drew my eye to them. And like Ben and Arthur's place just looked so bad. Like
their houses, all of the sets and houses and stuff were disheveled to the point that there's no chance that was on purpose. There was no chance that was production design. It was definitely someone's messy house.
It was probably his, right?
Yeah,
Is
exactly.
he the production designer too? Let me look.
Probably. I don't think that's even on here.
Probably.
But yeah, it's.
I get using your own home to film a scene, especially if you're doing like a little budget thing. But why wouldn't he clean up a little bit?
Right.
Like just it was so much clutter. Just,
There's that shot where he's writing in his diary.
Yes,
like
that's
that,
specifically what I'm thinking of.
And then doesn't go all the way down to the bottom of the page before he turns, and then just kind of, he's obviously just like doing like dashes, like there's no like real writing happening. Anyway, he's writing, and behind him is like this weird like papers just kind of lightly hanging off of things, and just like it's like no one set this up. This was I dig that you used your house. You definitely needed to. You didn't have the money. I get it. Maybe straighten that area before you start shooting it. Make it look like you're shooting a movie here. Yeah.
He did not. There's no production designer listed, so I assume it is.
Oh, yeah.
So production designer was whoever didn't clean up this house.
Again, it's one of those Jesus things where it just appeared. The house just appeared. No one built the set. No one designed the set. It was just there, and that was it.
Like, for some reason, the set, it just kept bothering me. Like, it was great. But then the set, like, at the church, they did put some care there because they had, like, the, obviously handmade faux stained glass, window, the cross in the background that looked like it was made out of cardboard, and, like, the super cartoonish looking Jesus painting was perfect. Like, those three things, amazing.
Yeah, that's where because they were in one of the houses they had already shot in, and they needed it to look like not one of those houses. And so they're like, I guess we have to do whatever. Yeah. So, but yes, I completely agree. I'd also like to talk about. Let's talk about the messaging a little bit, because we've hit on that a few times. So yes, the idea is there. The intention, it's kind of like Birdemic. The what he's trying to say is great, and I applaud them for trying to say it. Yeah. They have chosen, like Birdemic, just the worst way to say it. Right. And it's not just because this is a bad movie. It's that's not the only thing. It's that the hero burns a man alive. Yes. And then at the end, before killing his brother, seduces him a little bit.
Yes.
We didn't talk about that ending. I know we're jumping, but that ending.
No, that's fine. Let's talk. Okay, here's the thing. I was reading about it a little bit, and one of the criticisms of many this film often gets is that an obviously gay man plays Victor. He's obviously a gay man who is acting, who is not doing anything to hide his gayness.
For those listening who didn't watch Ben and Arthur and didn't listen to our instructions, because you should, but if you didn't, Victor is the villainous brother who is basically trying to kill them or separate them to convert him back to Christianity because it's against the church to be gay. And that's basically the entire thesis, is that
because
religion
he's going to
says
be
you can't
kicked
be
out
gay,
of the
but
church.
we're gonna rebel against the religious stuff.
Yeah. So that's one of the major criticisms. This obviously gay person playing this not gay character, he's complete with the bleached hair and just all of it. And Sam Morolovich has said, well, that was intentional. It's supposed to be a self-loathing. He's supposed to be a self-loathing gay person who is fighting against it, which to me is similar to Tommy Wiseau saying that The Room was always a black comedy.
Yes, because the movie didn't really touch on that at all. It's just
except until you get to the very end, and when you get to the very end, there's the part where Arthur is like rubbing himself and asking his brother if he wants to do things to him, but that doesn't resolve anywhere. That you don't get any indication from Victor that is what he wants. Not only that, wouldn't it have made so much more sense if that had been Ben, and then if that had been Ben and they had been doing that little bit, that would have felt like they were commenting on his latent homosexuality. The fact that it's his brother who's doing it.
Arthur, put some clothes on. You're embarrassing yourself.
I can't stand having Ben touch me. So you want to touch me? You want to fuck me, don't you, Victor?
the latent homosexuality is out the window. We're talking incest.
Right.
We're talking about an
Yes.
actual taboo situation here.
Yeah, because the whole plot line of the guy being against the gays because they're closeted homosexual, that's something we've seen in media. I mean, it happened in Glee too, where the lead football player actually ends up crushing on Kurt and ends up bullying Kurt because he has a crush on him, and you don't find out till later. But that way, the way it's handled is very well handled and very well executed to where you kind of understand it in the moment, and it's more of a dramatic kind of emotional moment. Here it's weird because he's already on death's door, and it's the last little, like, he's gonna kill them, but then he's like, let me just play with him and fuck with his brain even more and seduce him and make him uncomfortable about it. Maybe that was the goal, but it doesn't make him uncomfortable. It makes us, the audience, uncomfortable because we are now thinking, ew, that's incestual. And you're right. If it was Ben, it could have been maybe like one of those, like, oh yeah, he's gonna like fucking kill him and like creep him out at the same time. Like, yeah, you better scare him, like, kind of thing. But it's not.
Right.
It's
And you could have played into the latent homosexuality thing where he's trying to hide a thing, and then he's like trying to resist the thing. Like maybe it was because he actually was into Ben the whole time, but no, they made it his brother. Like, you switch those roles, it becomes not a better movie, but at least lands, like, hits the mark a little bit better, I think.
Yeah.
You can't kill yourself off that early in the movie if there's still a whole 10 minutes afterwards and you've written, produced, scored, shot the movie. You've got to be in the whole thing. So even though you're not the center of the poster,
easier that way. Like,
right. But yeah, you
Also,
don't want to have that
Jesus.
epic death. But
can we talk about that poster? That poster that looks like a romance novel from
Yes.
like.
Okay, arguably the best thing about the movie is that poster. Because, like, yeah, it's fine. Like, just, but
it's the only thing that's
like,
competent. Yes,
it's the only thing
like,
that's
okay,
competent.
someone actually put it together.
Right.
Yes. And also, I hate to say this, but our hero of the story is clearly supposed to be Arthur. He is so annoying.
Yeah.
That character is so annoying. Like, just everything that he does. Like, I don't know. I can't explain it. It's just he seemed like a giant man-child.
He did.
And at some point he mentioned, go ahead.
No, you got, yeah, what did he mention?
Oh, at some point when he was talking about his hopes and dreams to Ben, he mentioned that he wanted to start like a sex work industry or something along those lines.
Porn shop. He wanted to open
A porn shop, yes.
Yeah.
And I guess that happens,
Yeah.
but we only know that from a thrown away line from Victor.
Right. We never see any of that. It's so weird because there's so many little things. Like, the timeline in this is all messed up, and it's hard to know what just happened until sometimes the next scene has to tell you what happened in the scene before, because it doesn't. You don't really know. Like the scene where Victor meets up with a hitman guy.
A private investigator.
Who,
upon introducing himself, says, "Hi, I'm the private investigator." He's like, "Shut up!" I love that moment. Is that who you're talking about? You're talking about
not that scene, but that is a scene also that I wanted to talk about. I'm talking about the part right before Ben is hospitalized. So he meets up with the guy. We don't see what happens, and then we see them walking to the car together, and then the cop comes later and is like, "Do you know Ben?" He's like, "Yeah, he's dead." He's like, "Who told you that?" He was like, "Arthur." He's like, "No, he's not dead." So that never went anywhere. But also, why, if he was hiring someone to do that, why was he there? Why did he go in? Like, but
also,
it didn't really tell us what
why
happened.
did he hire like a hitman? Because before he had no problem killing their lawyer.
Right.
I have to say, the first time I watched this, that was the first point where I was like, what is this movie? Because the rest of it, up to that point, it just seemed like it was going to be a commentary on gay rights and how homosexuality is treated in the United States. And then suddenly we see him walking into a garage, pull out a gun and kill this lawyer. And you're like, that's not the movie we've been watching so far.
Right.
And
After they lingered on her pulling back into a parking spot for what seemed like hours. That shot was so long of her just pulling back into the parking lot. And then he comes out of nowhere, shoots her like 3 times, and then just runs. And it's like, up till this point, no murder. And then at some point, the movie just became about a lot of murder.
Yeah.
And then it never
becomes
ends.
like a
It just
revenge
goes.
thing.
Yeah. Then it's
Yeah.
all murder. Yeah. Then it becomes John Wick.
Yeah. Speaking of bad, the time, I guess this falls more into the production. This just popped into my head. That's why I bring it up. There's a shot. The shot when they're going to Vermont, when they're leaving for Vermont, is obviously them sitting outside of LAX watching a plane depart. Sorry, this is when they landed Vermont, because they don't show them taking off from Vermont. They show them landing in Vermont in front of a bunch of palm trees.
I noticed that. Yeah.
Which famously Vermont does not have.
You sure about that?
And then they did a shot of the plane taking off from Vermont, which was fine because you didn't see any palm trees in that one. I'm like, they should have probably switched that. They should have probably switched how they were where they were filming from, because if they had been landing in California, that would have been fine.
But Matt, the problem is that unlike the scarecrows who made this movie, you have a brain.
Oh,
so
that's true.
That's why you're able to notice these things. They're
That's
not.
true. Yeah, the private investigator and the cop, everybody in this is just everybody. All of the like not main characters almost are the best actors in this movie, but they have to like say too much dialogue, and that's like their doubt. Like the private investigator, the cop who's having to explain the plot of the movie to him, like all of that. It's
well,
yeah.
The private investigator, for example, he shows up and Victor's like, "Oh, you're a little young to be a private investigator," and he goes, "Oh, I'm actually an intern. Like my boss, he gave me this project. Like he gave me this assignment." And then he charges him, his rate is $800 a day to, I guess, trail Ben and Arthur. I'm not really sure what he was supposed to do, but he said that whatever it is, it would take 2 days. So it's just like, what?
And it's funny because like that's kind of a funny joke. Like, oh, you sent the intern private investigator. Like this is something like a big high class job for hire, but like. Yeah, this isn't the type of movie to do anything clever with something like that. Like, oh, it's like a hitman. Oh, I'm just the intern,
They didn't present it as clever at all. Like, that's the thing. Like, if they had made that a joke, yeah, it might have been funny. But they didn't. He was like, I'm the intern. You're the intern. Yeah, my boss couldn't handle this. My job, my fee is $800 a day. It's going to take 2 days. He said, that's fine. Here's $500.
And that's literally every scene. People get in there. They basically talk about what the scene is about, and then we go to another scene where something different completely is happening. One thing I did want to touch on is when, like, at one point, Arthur, he quits his job because of an irate customer. Like, he just has it up to here with her. Mildred is the customer's name. Love that scene. But anyway, he's on a job hunt, and it goes, like, so many shots of him, like, looking for a job, calling places, and he goes to audition as a dancer at a club, and he doesn't get it. And then directly after that scene, he's back on the phone, and now he's calling about apartments. And I literally wrote down in my notes, like, wait, I thought I was looking for a job. And then after that, he goes back to calling about jobs. It's like, wait, at what point do they talk about needing a new apartment? What is happening?
I know. And it's weird because he doesn't have a job, and it's like, how are you going to afford an apartment right now? Like, stop that. Like right. You're fine.
Like,
yeah.
And I guess at some point off screen, Ben, resumes, his nursing job, and they don't mention it. They just have a throwaway line while they're on their honeymoon about how they have to cut it short because Ben has to get back to the hospital because they're understaffed. I'm like, wait, so he went back to nursing? Like,
right. Because no one, I think Sam Morovich might have benefited from anybody else reading this script before they made this movie.
Just a casual glance.
Just like, yeah. In his mind, he's satisfied that by him mentioning it in passing while they were washing dishes that, hey, I can always go back to my nursing job, which to me is like, why are you washing dishes, my man? Like, I get
yes.
I get you want to pursue music. I get that you want to pursue music, but nurses work 2 to 3 days a week. Like you could pursue music. Yeah. But yeah, listen, there's so much to talk about with this movie. And it sucks because we don't have a whole lot of time, but it reminds me of when we were talking about Troll 2 and we were like running out of time and we decided, hey, we'll do a commentary, which we never did.
We will.
Once we do the Troll 2 commentary, we should do a Ben and Arthur commentary, the three of us.
I think so
I just have
too.
so much to say. I have
There's
so much to say about this movie.
It's so good. Why don't we get into superlatives and maybe we can hit on a few more iconic moments and characters, maybe. But like, yeah, I agree. I think this needs a whole commentary because there really is not a lot you could put into like a half hour, you know?
Yeah, I agree. There's just so much and just so much I'm forgetting. And every time I think somebody brings something up, I'm like, oh, there's this other part that I need to talk about. Yeah, let's talk about superlatives. I'm gonna give my worst line of dialogue here real quick. And there were many. I wrote down a few, and then this one is the one that makes me laugh just every time, and that is when Victor is talking to the priest, who is billed as Rabin, and I'm not, but I don't know why he's the priest. That's not even really a name. I don't know, but anyway, Rabin says. The congregation is concerned that your brother's homosexuality may rub off on the children and send their souls straight to hell. That makes me laugh and cringe so much because, number one, I grew up in the church, and so that's not terribly far off. But
I was gonna say, it's kind of close.
I was going to say, the messaging is like kind of eerily important.
The thing is, his brother doesn't go to that church, and he's not Victor is getting kicked out of the church because his brother is gay, but his brother doesn't go to that church, and the homosexuality is rubbing off and sending their souls straight to hell. Like just being near Victor, who is related to a homosexual, is rubbing off on the children.
Yeah, it's like COVID contact tracing. It's like you were with someone who had tested positive last week at this other place with that other guy. Yeah, it's like.
Yeah. All right, Dyl, what's your worst line of dialogue?
I do have two. One is part of my Framewreck moment so I'll save it. But there are two other ones that I really like, and I think it's because I think they thought it was way funnier when they wrote it, and then hearing it out loud, it's not that clever. One is after one of my favorite lines. I resent that. Arthur comes back at Victor with, "You care more about some man named Jesus that you never even met before than your own family," which I think is just funny because it's like, acting as if it's like. Jesus is living, breathing in the now. Like this guy you haven't even met, Jesus. I think that's fucking hilarious. And the other one is earlier when Ben and Arthur are having a semi-little fight. Mild homophobia, I guess, shown by Ben because he doesn't want to be out and about, even though they've been together for 3 years. And Arthur is accusing him of like pulling his hand away from him or whatever. And Arthur says, "Oh, you did, Ben. You most certainly did. And my heart, my stomach. I mean, my liver. Everything it just fell right onto the floor."
That was close to being mine, also.
It's like, what? Like, okay. I get it's like a saying, buddy. Anyway, I just thought that was a really funny, like, just it's the liver. I mean, everything. It's just such a good little aside. I mean, all the dialogue in this is so good. I could have like 10 more, but so good.
It's all great. I'm trying to think like what my favorite point of dialogue is, and I think I have to go with, because the delivery was so great, Tammy, the ex-wife, when she finds out about like their plans to get married, and she just says it in the most smug way, "Men can't get married in California." It was just her delivery was perfect.
Yeah. Yes, that character. We talked about her a little bit, but what a trip that character was, and who had so little. I mean, I guess the fact that they were no, because the whole. I was thinking the lawsuit thing had something to do with that, but it doesn't. I don't know why that character even was in it. Like that,
Yeah.
she did nothing for this except to show that
There
he
are a
was
lot of
married.
characters where I'm like, why is that character?
Why are
there?
you
Because the
here?
movie is not about Ben like living a double life, having a wife and this lover, and like
Right.
coming out. It's not a coming out movie. It's more about the fight against the church, which is why it's so funny that they even have this plot line. And Matt, that does segue me in my Framewreck moment if we want to go.
Yeah,
there
go ahead.
next. Yeah, because it is. I know I jumped the gun earlier, but it is that fight with Tammy and Ben.
Hi, Ben.
Tammy, what are you doing here?
Remember me?
What are you doing?
It is so good because it's the gun to the fighting, the hitting, and my other lines of dialogue are in this too. So I'll just go through this whole exchange, and I kind of hinted at it earlier. But Tammy, I'm gay. I've already told you that. Ben, I'll be gay too, and then that'll make it right for us to get married again, huh? He goes, "You are not making any sense." She says, "Hey, I don't make sense. You don't make sense. I make sense. That's who makes sense."
Tammy, I'm gay. I've already told you that.
Then I'll be gay too, and then that'll make it right for us to get married again, huh?
You are not making any sense.
I don't make sense. You don't make sense. I make sense. That's who makes sense.
And then they start hitting the shit out of each other. And it is, I was telling Matt before Chris got on, I was like, I wish I could have recorded myself watching this for the first time, because I knew that scene was coming up, and I put a camera on myself to see how I reacted. And I reacted really well, but there's something about that raw first reaction watching it that I wish I had on camera, because it is just, and maybe when we do the commentary, you'll see it in the moment, but my face during that whole moment, I can't believe it. I can't describe it. It's so good.
Oh, what are you gonna do about it? No!
Yeah, that's an excellent. That sometimes when Tammy talks, it makes me wonder: is she improvising, or is that as written? And I feel like based on the rest of the movie, that's as written. But it sounds like someone who went off the rails, who did not, who kind of went off the reservation a little bit. That's not a good thing to say. Who went off script. But based on the rest of the movie, it kind of feels like that's probably what she was supposed to say. Mm-hmm. If we could go with train wreck moments, whatever we call them. Mine is, and anybody who's been around me on Discord since I watched this in June already knows what it is, and that is because I made a GIF from this scene that I use all the damn time, and that is the punch. Oh. Yes, it's domestic abuse, but it's fucking hilarious. Oh.
The sound effect. Oh.
The sound effect, Arthur's reaction as he falls.
It's so good.
Oh.
But then immediately after that scene, like Ben tells him, "Was like, well, that'll teach you to say to not say silly things." Like, and they treat it like it's supposed to be light and fun, but I'm like,
yeah,
well,
yeah, I know. They do. They treat it like, well, this is actually something I forgot to bring up. There's so many people coming out of a fog stuff where that I'm convinced in this movie that the one thing that Sam Mironovich knew how to do or had perfected that made him want to watch this movie or make this movie was going from out of focus to in focus, because it happens so many times in this movie. But yeah, the punch happens. They have a little fight. Punch happens. It's hilarious. He wakes up. He gaslights him, I guess, or at least treats it like, acts like he it's like, you should have put up the
bicycle. Or the bike,
yeah, you should. Yeah, like whatever. Like, this is, well, why do you make me do this to you? Type of thing. It makes me laugh. When I watched it on my TV, it would show the actually, or was it on my phone? Wherever you watch, one of them you can see the most viewed parts of the movie.
Yes, it shows
that was
the little.
That was the highest.
Oh.
That was the highest, and 100% part of that's from me when I was making that GIF and watching it over and over again. But yeah, that's definitely the most watched portion of this movie is the punch.
I love that.
Chris, train wreck
moment. might have to go with, honestly, Arthur murdering the priest. Because, again, he's our hero. Kind of like you touched on earlier, Matt. And he should, like, kills him, but, like, sets him on fire. It's just like, I mean, gay rights. Just,
that scene was so drawn out because not only does he sit there, pretend to be someone else, while he's writing down the address or whatever, he's pouring out the stuff into the rag so that he can knock him out. Knocks him out, then runs outside to his car, apparently really far away from, I don't know why, if you're about to commit a murder, you don't like park closer and maybe try to reduce your exposure to this area, but runs outside, gets the thing out of his trunk, runs back, pours it on him, lights it, and then runs back with the thing in his, flopping the evidence in his hand. That scene is so bloated, and it's a genius scene. That part, like, okay, so Victor killing the lawyer was the part where I was like, oh my god, this is a different movie. Arthur killing the priest was where I was like, oh my god, what is this movie? Like, it's like this, like,
it just came out of nowhere. It felt like,
All right, let's talk about acting. Let's go with worst actor. I don't think that. I mean, I know he had a lot of jobs on this movie, but I feel like this award has to go to worst actor. Has to go to Sam Mirovich for his portrayal of Arthur.
Agreement there.
Yeah, I gotta agree too. We'll clean sweep it. Yeah, I agree.
Actor who elevated material. As I said, a lot of the background people were better than everybody else. But for me, if I have to choose someone, because I don't know that anybody elevated this material, but if I do have to choose someone, it's going to be Ben Hindley, who played Rabin the priest.
Oh yeah, he was actually not bad. Like, but like you said, like a lot of the extra people were pretty good. Yeah, like I would even say, I guess Julie Belknap played Tammy. Like I feel like she also elevated it because again, it seemed like she was just honestly having fun with it. Yeah, like, I don't know.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah,
Dyl,
I don't have an answer. I guess I gotta give one, do I? At first I was just gonna say Ben, the guy who plays Ben, Jamie Brett Gable, only because in comparison to Arthur, he's just more. But I think that's the character, kind of what Chris was saying. Like Arthur's just so unlikable that Ben is kind of by default like the more likable of the two, and he's got charisma on the poster. He's got that riz. But I don't know.
He really does.
I can't believe I used that in a sentence. I've never done that before. I don't know. I really don't know. I guess I'll join in on the priest, Bill Hindley, but I don't know. None of the acting's good. I can't say any of it's good. It's better or worse, but I wouldn't say it's good.
All right,
but that's what makes it great.
Before we get to Mount Trashmore, I do want to talk about legacy because I always talk about legacy. I do have a couple points to point out here. The Rotten Tomatoes editorial staff ranked it number 15 on the list of films so bad they're unmissable. Stating if Tommy Wiseau's Room is the overwrought, melodramatic, self-pitying, heterosexual camp classic of choice, then Sam Mirovich's Ben and Arthur is the gay equivalent, which I think we touched on that.
I agree.
Rotten Tomatoes cited poor production values and Arthur's hissy fits, concluding that the quality of the film was so poor that Mirovich might as well have shot his story of gay persecution and fight back on his cell phone, which honestly, you couldn't convince me he didn't. Like, it's like, I would also, the film took, I already talked about this, the film took criticism for the portrayal of Victor as a gay man, but also they said the gay pop culture site Queerty called it the worst gay movie ever, only to later retract and say retract the gay qualifier and simply declare it the worst in general, which I have to agree.
It could just be an all-around failure.
Yeah, it's just the worst movie. One more thing. Netflix reviews were negative. One review wrote, I rarely get angry at a movie. This is an exception, which leads me to my favorite review on Letterboxd, which I posted in the Discord for you guys earlier. But it's from Letterboxd user 31616, and it's does for watching movies what Jaws did for swimming.
That's so good.
So that's its legacy. It's about it was the
how many Oscar nominations?
Let's see none.
Damn.
Cinema Queer indicated that it was the worst film to ever be featured on the site, suggesting that the film was too bad to even be parodied on Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Oh yeah, I did see that actually.
Okay, let's do our scoring real quick, and then we'll talk about Matt Trashmore. For me, this is easy. This is 5 secret holy water recipes out of 5. It's a perfect score on the bad and entertaining scale. What do we got from you guys?
I'm gonna say I'm gonna have to agree, like as far as badness of it.
Yeah,
5 immolated priests. Like
yeah,
it's just it's up there.
Yeah.
Mine is going to be that's great. Now let's see your 5 out of 5.
Yeah.
In place of the word penis.
Penis.
But,
yeah. Okay. So let's talk about Matt Trashmore. Now we had said in the past that it's pretty much set, and those are probably going to be there for a while. But I got to be honest, guys. I think that this is in discussion.
Because look what we got on there right now. We got The Room, we got Troll 2, we got Birdemic, and we've got Plan 9 from Outer Space. That is a heavy 4.
Yeah.
But Ben and Arthur, I don't know. I mean, it's one of the worst things I've ever seen, but I love watching it. So like, I think
here's my contention. All right, I'm voting yes on it going on Mount Trashmore. My thing to you, my contention to you, or my suggestion, Dyl, for your vote would be, while I think Plan 9 from Outer Space belongs up there, that is the one that we kind of disagreed on, that we both weren't like full-fledged into.
I didn't find as much enjoyment out of it as you did, but again, it's kind of like one of those things where you got to honor the classics,
right?
But
I think that
there. Chris, do you agree it belongs on the Mount Trashmore of bad movies?
I agree. Ben and Arthur definitely belongs there. I would say if the contention is Plan 9 from Outer Space, like replacing it with
replacing taking down Plan 9 and putting up.
I think The Room and Troll 2 are safe. I think it's between Birdemic and Plan 9 as for what it replaces, personally. Because I feel like The Room is just kind of like the staple, and then Troll 2 is, I think, our favorite. I don't know.
Okay, Troll, the Room and Troll 2, I think, are safe. I think those are correct.
I thought you were going to push back on The Room only because we've compared it to The Room, but I think The Room is.
I would say that I'd say it's got a. I've compared it to something else today that it actually is probably a closer connection to, and that would be Birdemic. I would say that maybe. I mean, I was going to give you Plan 9 just because we kind of went back and forth, but if we're talking about maybe removing something else instead of Plan 9. It kind of holds the same spot, like
right, because it's the social commentary trying to be about like this big message, but ends up being a misfire.
And honestly, I found this way more entertaining than Birdemic. So I would do that if we wanted to do that. I would take that.
Chris, what do you think? Do you think Birdemic?
I would agree with replacing Birdemic because I've seen that movie a few times. It's not as entertaining to me personally, just because I feel like it's a lot of walking from scene to scene to set piece to set piece.
I think it's great the first time, but I think on the rewatch, because I've seen it twice too, the second watch while I'm using, it is annoying. The birds are annoying. Whereas here, I don't find anything particularly annoying. I think the characters who are pushing the Christianity are annoying, but that's an effect of the movie. They're written well in that sense. I can't believe I'm saying that anything's written well, but like I think in terms of the enjoyment, like there's nothing that turns me off from this movie in terms of like I want to sit and watch the whole thing. I don't want to skip past any scenes. Whereas Birdemic, I don't want to listen to those birds. I'm down for that, Matt.
All right. I'm surprised. I thought we were gonna, but yes, I'm completely down for it. Let's do it.
Honor the classics. Some people say Citizen Kane isn't the greatest film of all time. It may not be, but like if we're gonna make Mount Rushmore, then it deserves a spot there, just like I think Plan 9 does in terms of like being a classic. So yeah, there we go. Our updated Mount Trashmore.
Wow.
Birdemic has flown away, and we now have The Room. We have Troll 2. We have Plan 9 from Outer Space, and now we have Ben and Arthur. Yeah, there it is. Mount Trashmore has been changed. We didn't think it would happen this soon, let alone ever. And now it'll be really tough, I think, for anything else to get.
Oh yeah, I agree.
But I think if one is to fall next, it might be Plan 9. But we'll get there when we get there.
Will it be next month? Where we talk about this is actually the first Halloween show we're going to do without Chris, which actually makes me a little sad. Yeah, I know. But we had someone else called dibs on this one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. We have a lot of horror experts on the channel, and we figured it would be a time to talk about some actual like known Halloween movies because Shockmo was such a treat last year. But this one's going to be a little bit more for like the mainstream crowd who wants to get back into like the Nightmare on Elm Street type movies where they can actually like say, hey, I remember that one. So even though introducing people is also a blast.
So we're going to have fellow co-host of the Dyl Pickle Movie Network, Chadwick Webb, on. He's co-host of Picture This. And we're going to cover 3 movies. Halloween 4, 5, and 6.
Oh, that's gonna be fun for you guys.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm very excited. I'm sure I'll talk about this on the thing, but there's only one Halloween movie I don't like, and that's Halloween Kills. All the rest of them I love, so I'm excited to talk about these movies.
And this will be fun too, because I have never seen any of those. I've seen the first 2, and I've seen the new trilogy. And I've never seen the middle ones, and I've never seen the zombies. So I'm going to remedy that, I think, this year for my 31 Days of Halloween. I think I'm going to finish up the blind spots of what I haven't seen from that franchise.
Nice.
But I'm very excited for 4, 5, 6. What are the titles for those? Just
4 is I don't know. I know.
They all blend together. It's more for my own record keeping of like, what do I have to watch next month? But I'll figure it out. It's fine.
Yeah, I don't remember the titles. They've got Michael Myers in the titles, I think.
Love it. Return, the Revenge, the Return again. I don't know.
Curse of Michael Myers is, I think, number 6. That's the one.
I found it. Return is 4. Return, Revenge, Curse. That's what we're doing.
Oh, there we are. We figured it out without even having to look it up. Look at that.
No, I did look it up.
Right, but you already said Return, Revenge, and I said Curse. So we already got there.
There you go.
Anyway, so that's Framewreck. I'm sorry we didn't spend more time talking about this movie, but we will. We're going to do a commentary because this movie deserves to be talked about more.
Yeah, maybe we just
join you guys for a commentary.
100%, Chris. We'll definitely have you on. And I wonder if we should just like at the end of the year, whatever our Trashmore is, assuming Troll 2 and this are on there, we just do one for all 4, like back to back, like a marathon.
I was thinking that. I was thinking any movie that makes it onto Mount Trashmore gets a commentary. I think that's going to be the standard now.
Yeah, maybe starting now. Maybe not the ones that were on there. Like when we had Batman and Robin.
Oh no! Starting now. The 4 that are up there right now are going to get commentaries. We own Trolls first, and then we own this one, and then we can go do the other.
Then we'll do The Room. Then we'll do Plan 9. Then whatever comes on, if something does come on, we'll do it. Yeah, I like that idea. That way you gotta get an elongated. Like it's almost like that's our inducting. Cool. Chris, where else can they find you except for on this channel?
Basically on Twitter. I guess it's X now, but my handle pretty much everywhere is the same. It's Cellar Door Floor, and I'm also on Letterboxd. So yeah.
You can also find me on X or Twitter if you're nasty. At MattmanXIII. That's 13 in Roman numerals. You can find me on Letterboxd. You can find me here. I'm just all around.
Oh, also I'm on Blue Sky, which is random. But
what is Blue Sky? We'll talk about that later. I don't know what that is.
So check it out. These guys on Blue Sky. Assuming Matt will go on after this. I don't know what Blue Sky is either, but you can find me Dylan_Randazzo Twitter. X. I'm nasty. Twitter, and then Letterboxd, and you can find me also at the Dyl Pickle Movie Network here. If you're listening on podcast, thank you. Go check us out on video, and vice versa, and check out the Dyl Pickle Movie Network TikTok that we launched. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time.
That's great. Now, let's see your penis.